Hey guys, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle.
Christian Girl's Guide to Modern Dating.
We are just two single girls trying to figure out how to date well as Christian women. So thanks for joining us for another episode.
We're really excited to have you here.
For once, I'm not the one saying we're really
stole your
excited.
line.
You stole my line.
We need to come up with like a scale of excitement, because if you say you're so excited every week, it kind of doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like
so
the person
true.
at work who sends you an email that says urgent, and every email says urgent. It kind of loses its meaning after a while.
That's true.
So we'll have an excitement scale for you
we'll work
one
on
of these
that.
days.
Homework for us.
Yes, there we go. Okay, so all seriousness now. We are still kind of new to this podcasting gig, but one of the things that made us want to do this is we have podcasts that we love to listen to. And part of the reason we love to listen to them is that we feel like we know the people we're listening to. We feel like we're sitting in a Starbucks, drinking of whatever you get from
Coffee
Starbucks.
frappuccino.
That. I don't like coffee, so it's probably like a apple cider or something. Anyway, but you feel like you know them and you're just talking to them. And so we want you guys to feel that with us. Like you know us, we're just hanging out. So we're going to play the question game, I think, at the start of every episode and just let you get to know us a little.
Yeah, so we'll ask one question at the beginning of every episode. This week it was my job. Bethany has no clue what I'm about to ask her.
No, all of the reactions will be legitimate.
Yeah,
legitimate?
Go
with
candid.
it. We're good.
Yeah.
That works.
Whatever that word is. So, Bethany, first question ever.
Okay.
If you could live like one person for a week, who would you choose?
Oh.
And why?
So does it have to be like someone who's alive now, or anyone?
No, you can do like a dead person. If you want to be
I
in
don't
the
wanna live
ground
like
for
a
a
dead
week.
person. Didn't think that one all the way through.
It's fine. No.
This is tough.
Do you want me to answer mine while you think?
Oh, you know someone already that you would?
I already thought.
Okay,
this
yeah,
through.
you go first. I'll think for a second.
So, my answer, shockingly enough, would be Taylor Swift.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because
Why?
I've always wanted to be able to sing. So like, and to be able to like go to a concert and
That's
actually
a good
like
one.
perform and wear all the fun outfits. I'd love to like write a song like her just once, just because I'm a big
Yeah.
writer and I think that'd be super fun. And then maybe do like a TV interview where someone like does all your hair and makeup all the time and you don't have to do
I
that.
have one.
Okay.
Okay, sorry,
Go.
I totally cut you off.
No.
I want to be Joanna Gaines
Oh, that's so you.
for a week.
That
like,
is so you.
That would be wonderful. I could design cool houses and live on a farm, and yeah, that would just be wonderful.
You married a Chip.
I was gonna say Chip's kind of the coolest ever, but then I was like, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but that would be a bonus too.
Yeah, no, he's great. They're super cute.
I just love them.
Yes. Okay, great question.
That was fun.
Yeah,
I
I
gotta
just told
think-
myself that I can't.
question. I gotta think of a good one for next week.
Yeah,
now.
no pressure. The bar is very high.
Okay, cool.
Okay, enough of that. So, today we are going to be talking about the results from a survey that we have recently put out to a bunch of guys, basically just trying to figure out what do they think about girls and dating and relationships and what are they looking
Pick
for.
their brains a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about how girls view dating and what we think is wise and what, trying to navigate this well, like we say, as
Yeah.
Christian women. But we just thought it'd be really helpful to kind of figure out, okay, what are guys really thinking
Yeah.
about all of this?
Because, yeah, we can only relate to what we think. And so
Yeah.
it's a totally different mind frame. I think that's one thing we've learned for sure.
Oh my gosh,
Than ours.
Definitely. So that was kind of the thinking behind why we sent it out. So we sent this out weeks ago. We've gotten a bunch of responses. And just as a disclaimer really quick, which I'm kind of ashamed that this has to be a disclaimer, but
Yeah.
I have so much more respect for guys now, just understanding a little bit more about where they're coming
Yeah.
from and how they view dating, because if I'm being honest, my expectations were not super high as far as what I was thinking they were going to say. I thought I had nailed down how they were going to respond to all these questions, which I definitely didn't.
Well, and they went, like, above and beyond, I feel like.
Oh,
like,
for
I was
sure.
really, yes, very pleasantly surprised. And I mean, we joke about guys and girls and, whatever, but we really do, we're not trying to, like, talk down or whatever.
No.
But it was really refreshing to see.
It was.
And I think it's partly because, like, if you look at society at large, this feminist ideal has, like, creeped in so many places where it's almost like women can do no wrong and men are just a bunch of idiots. If you watch, I mean, and that's just a blunt way of putting it, but if you watch TV shows or watch movies, you know, the dad or the husband's always the bumbling idiot who can't figure anything out. And so I think that creeps into our mind frame a little bit when it's so not the case. And we know that. We would never say that. But I think you just have to be careful. Like, those subtle shifts are there. But, yeah, we just were really encouraged to see a lot of the responses that we got. And surprised about some of them, too, even.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in a good way. In a good way,
great
for
way.
sure.
So that's kind of what we want to talk through today and hopefully encourage you guys and
Yeah.
just hopefully enlighten you a little bit like we were enlightened
Yeah.
as we're walking through some of this material. And there was so much, we did break this into 2 episodes. So we're going to talk about part of it today, and then next week you'll get the second half of it.
Yeah.
But
Well, because one thing we did was we sent the survey to all of the guys and had them fill it out. But then we also, in order to kind of see where some of the disconnect is, maybe between guys and girls, is we sent the same survey to girls and told them, hey, you fill this out how you think a guy would. So then we can compare the results and say, okay, this is what guys actually think about dating in this area. Here's what girls thought that they thought.
yeah.
If you follow that. But it was really good to see because there were some that were like spot on, that like it was what you expected, but then others, and we'll get into the statistics and percentages and whatever. Wow, I said statistics. Normally I can't say that word. I get all
It's a big day, people.
I get like all confused. I just say stats. But some of the areas like were
Totally
exact
off.
opposites
Yeah.
of, you know, as far as like who said what. So yeah, it's going to be fun, I think. And really, it was helpful for us, and hopefully it will be for you guys, too.
Definitely. But before we jump right in, I do want to give you a little bit of the demographics of who answered this survey. I think that's important to understand. The nerd in me, you know, sees the value in this. So the only 2 demographic questions we asked were about the guy's age and his current relationship status. So just to give y'all some context.
Because otherwise it was anonymous.
Right, yeah.
Like,
It was
other
totally
than- yeah.
anonymous. We didn't know who did what or who said what. So just as far as age goes, 11% of the guys were from 18 to 21 years old. 54% were 22 to 25. 19% were 26 to 29. And then 15% were 30 or older.
Yeah.
And then as far as relationship status goes, 62% of the guys are single, which was helpful because they
Yes.
are in the midst of this right now, trying to figure this out like we are. 11% were in a committed relationship, and 27% are married. And by that we mean pretty recently married.
Yeah.
I mean, you see by the age.
Right, and we didn't
Range.
want it to be people like, there's so many unique things about dating in the 21st century
Absolutely.
that wouldn't really apply if someone had been married for 30 years already and was taking the survey. It was a totally different world. It just was kind of, you know, it wasn't really a true picture, I don't think, of dating today. So we wanted to keep that in a good age range. So yeah, people who are married were recently in the past couple of years who were thinking about it from the standpoint of when they were single and the things they, you know, encountered while they were dating.
So yeah, that's just a little bit of a way to give y'all some context of
Yeah.
who is talking and who the guys were that are
Yeah.
answering these questions.
Okay, so one of the biggest things, and this is like not really a surprise, but it made both of us kind of stop and think, is you hear all the time, all married people I think will tell you, communication is so important to a healthy marriage. And that was like one of the big themes we saw in this as far as like struggles and frustrations even people have in dating, is that clear communication is hard. And why is that?
It's a great
I
question.
know. Because, you know, people say, oh, communication is so important, and they kind of leave it there.
Like, what the heck does that
What
mean?
does that mean, really? Like, just talk, like, what does that really, what all goes into that? And so we kind of, obviously men and women communicate differently. So we started, we were going to do some research into this, and I sat down to Google, and I typed out the differences between, and that's all I had typed in. And the first thing that, like, auto-filled on Google was male and female communication. Like, that was the top one. So I hadn't even gotten it out. And they, like, lots of people wonder about this, too.
Yeah, you are not alone if you have ever asked that question
No.
or wondered that.
No, and I mean, it's kind of, there's some things that are obvious. Guys are more straightforward, to the point, in the ways that they communicate and their preferences when it comes to that. Whereas we aren't as much. Like, one of the questions we asked was, okay, guys, what is the kindest way that, in your eyes, that a girl could say she's not interested? Or if you ask a girl out and she's turning you down, like, what's the kindest way to do that? Because, you know, the kindest way in our eyes might not be the same for what they would view as a kind, loving way to do that. And so we got answers like, be direct. Let me know you're not interested in dating. But if you leave any room for hope in the future that it could happen, it just builds that hope up even more. And that's hurtful in the end. People said, don't sugarcoat it. You know, I appreciate it, but no thank you. Like, just get to the point.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that was a really big theme, too, is a lot of guys said, because this was just a short answer question where we didn't prompt any of their response, but a lot of them had that, I really appreciate it, but I'm not interested. Or, you're really sweet to ask, but no thanks. So kind of acknowledging the fact that it took some courage
And risk.
mm-hmm. But you're just not interested. So you're still being honest, but you're being respectful and grateful and acknowledging the fact that they took that step, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because we operate in a more feelings-based or emotional way. Like, when we're communicating with them, when we're talking, we tend to think of, how are they going to feel about what I'm telling them?
Oh, absolutely. That's why girls try to, like, come up with the most roundabout way to say no.
Exactly. I mean,
or blame it on ourselves instead of them.
We'll say things like, not right now, or the timing's not great, but kind of like that one said, that leaves the door open. That's not a definitive no, which is what is most helpful to them. And if we're going to try to communicate well, there's got to be some give and take there. You've got to be willing to put in the work of, and right now we're talking about rejection, like how to kindly do that. But that same principle of communication is going to, you know, overlap into tons of other areas in your relationship. When you are dating someone, they're still coming at it from that standpoint. They need you to be direct. They need you to tell them what they're thinking. And that's what we saw over and over too, is just tell me what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. So we kind of both, I think, realized the sugarcoating or the, you know, kind of making it our fault, or what, our fault's not the right word, but kind of putting it back on us a little bit. Like saying, oh, it's not you, it's me. I think we do that more for ourselves, for our benefit, because it makes us feel better, which is selfish.
Oh, absolutely.
So that was really helpful, I think, for both of us to see, too.
Definitely.
Because, wasn't it, I think it was over 95%.
Yeah, it was 97% of the guys, when they asked that question, said something about being honest or straightforward.
Don't leave any room for wondering.
Thanks, but no thanks, that kind of a thing.
And like, I think you said, this was a short answer question. This wasn't a pick from options where that was one of the things we said. So they were typing this up. This is what they were thinking. This is what is important to them. So I think we really need to focus on just being clear in communication in general. Like the one question here that kind of really opened our eyes was in relation to like rejecting someone, but you know, keep that in mind across all of dating and just communication in general. But within that too, remember, your words matter. The words you say matter. I mean, across the country, people joke, and they have for years, you know, men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Isn't that a board game?
I think so, in a book or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. But you hear it all of the time, and it's kind of like this, oh, let's just throw up our hands and give up. Like, there's no hope of ever bridging that gap. Like, people are just different, and there's no hope of being able to communicate well or in ways that they appreciate and understand. But we disagree with that. Like, it's not true. It's not biblical. I mean, Matthew 12:36 says, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. So, just, you know, throwing up your hands and saying it doesn't matter what I say, they're not going to understand anyway. One, that's not fair to them. But two, that's just wrong. It's a sinful attitude to have. The words you say matter, and the intent behind them matters. If they're careless like that, you're going to give an account for that. Which, every time I hear that verse, does that not make you just like pause and
you're like, okay.
Every careless word.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about how many times you've probably said, whether you meant to or not, but just it makes you really think twice before you say anything, and that's a good thing. Like,
right?
You
It's
want
not
to think
a bad
with that
exactly.
filter.
Exactly. I saw a quote from John Piper that said, "Words carry immeasurable significance. The universe was created with a word. Jesus healed and cast out demons with a word. Rulers have risen and fallen by their words. Christians have worshiped through words of song, confession, and preaching. Even in our technological age, politics, education, business, and relationship center on words.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to work to say things and use words and be patient and clarify that what we're saying is what the person is hearing.
Absolutely. Well, and even like I think about that verse in Proverbs that says words kill and words give life. Like you could take that and say words kill relationships and words give life to relationships. Like you have, I think we so often just diminish the effect that our words can have.
Yeah.
And they can be so life-giving.
Well, and unless you're sitting around talking to yourself, verbal communication is inherently relational.
It's true.
I mean,
it's a good point.
You know, and so when it says that words give life and words, kill, it's talking about other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, unless you're sitting there talking to yourself, which we all do.
That's okay. There's no shame in that. You're not crazy. Or if you are, we are too.
Yeah, right? So, your words matter and they have weight. And just really give some time to thinking, to trying to understand that other person, whether it's dating or not, with your brother in Christ, and you should want to prefer him in that.
Yeah. And I think as you say that too, that brings up a good point as far as wanting to understand a guy, because one thing that we've talked about is when girls think about communication and connection, I mean, that's us sitting on the couch and talking for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And that's so fun to us, and that's how we, relationally get filled up.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
connection.
for most girls, that is how, exactly.
Yeah, and that's so fun. With a guy, that may not be the case. I don't know a lot of guys that would just sit there and talk to you for 4 hours sitting on the couch, not doing anything else.
On the girl side and the guy side, neither of them are universal. There's it's not like a blanket thing, but for the most part, that tends to be how it is.
Yeah.
But shared common interests are so important to guys, because that is more how they connect. That was one of the things we asked on the survey was, what characteristics are the most important to you or the most attractive to you when you're looking to date someone, outside of faith and appearance. Those were kind of a given. But 46% of guys picked from the list that we gave them that common interests was top 2 for them. Like you said, we connect face to face and can talk for hours. And then that conversation is the connection. We get up, we go our separate ways, we do our separate things, and we're fine because the conversation is what, like you said, kind of filled us up. For guys, a lot of times, that hobby or interest, that shoulder to shoulder, we're tackling this task, that's connection. And that's a good form of communication for them, because you're united and you're doing this together. I mean, I found one of the best ways to get a guy to open up and talk is to get in the car and go for a drive. Road trips are awesome.
I love that.
If you're driving, it's a little less vulnerable because you're not looking eye to eye. You're shoulder to shoulder and you're going towards the same goal, just to get wherever you're going. But there's so much more room for connection and communication in that for guys. Now, that's not saying if you and your boyfriend need to have a conversation, you're like, well, let's go get in the car.
Yeah. Maybe don't make it
It goes both ways, but just kind of keep that in mind when you're talking to a guy or you're trying to figure out this communication thing, that those things are going to be different, and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So thinking about, communication, with that being a theme, that really wasn't surprising to either of us.
No.
I mean, that's something that people talk about all the time in the context of relationships, understanding, we think about that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't really surprising that guys and girls both kind of had that as one of their top frustrations, or, just things that is tough to navigate.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I will say that did surprise me is what a lot of the guys said about intelligence and whether they thought that was an attractive quality with girls. Because like Bethany said a minute ago, when we asked, we gave them a list of qualities that they thought were, or basically had them rank those in order of importance and what they were looking for in a girl. But we excluded faith and appearance just because those were givens.
Right. And we'll post a copy of all the questions on our blog so that you can, see that whole list and all of the questions that we did ask too.
Yeah, but intelligence was on that list, and where it ended up getting placed was very interesting.
It was. I think we've talked before about sometimes we have, like, in an effort to not seem intimidating, I know I've been told I'm intimidating, and, like, you kind of want to scale back and shrink away from being, like, the super smart girl.
Oh, definitely.
Because you feel like it's intimidating. And so like I said, we've talked about, like, we've played dumb, or, when someone tells you something that you already knew, you just let it seem like that was new information. Because you don't, and I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from. I've never had someone say, you should do this.
Oh, no, never.
So, and it's
like
not
the
something,
subconscious reaction or something.
Yeah, it's not something, like, honestly, this survey really kind of solidified. I was like, wow, I have done this. I hadn't thought about it before in that much detail, but it's not really something I'm proud of.
Oh,
like,
not
it's
at
not
all.
a thing that I'm like, oh, yeah, I do this all the time. It's like, oh, I need to work on not doing this.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, especially considering what guys said. So 50% of the guys had intelligence as one of their top 2
like most attractive things. Yeah.
qualities, which
That's awesome.
is great. And that's one of the reasons this was so encouraging to me, because I think and I know that's something
Yeah.
we look for
Yes.
too, but it's cool to see that they look for the
It's
same
reciprocated,
thing.
yeah.
Because when we went back and checked the survey that the girls took and, like, what they thought guys would say, only 7% of girls said that they thought that would be at top level of importance for guys, that girls be intelligent.
Yeah.
So there was a huge discrepancy. 66% of the girls thought intelligence would be in the bottom 2 of that list. 2/3.
Yeah, and I mean, the other things were...
Confidence, shared interest, sense of humor, sense of personal style.
Yeah.
I didn't expect.
I mean, it's a huge difference.
It is.
50% of the guys versus 7% of girls who thought that would be something they would find important. And so, like, it's good. It's nice to know that.
That's a good thing. I was glad I was wrong about.
Me too.
Because you and I both we thought intelligence
Yeah.
would be lower on their
Yeah.
things too, because we filled it out just like before we got any responses. And that's something I'm really happy I'm wrong about.
So, yeah, let's give them some credit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, too, a lot of times we hear all about how guys are visual and they're so focused on how girls look and their appearance. And I don't feel like people talk enough about what guys are looking for beneath the surface. And I think the guys who filled out this survey have done a really good job at proving that there's more to them than just wanting to date somebody hot.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It takes some pressure off. At least in my mind. Like, it really has kind of changed. Like, it makes you just kind of go, I can relax a little. I can just be me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a valuable lesson for us as girls, whether it's intelligence or something else, that just like you just said, you can be yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't feel like you need to suppress your strengths or hide who you are just so that a guy will like you.
Yeah, I mean, good grief. Newsflash. If you start dating him, he's going to eventually get to know the real you, or you're going to be exhausted from him, like, hiding it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, just be you, the real you from the beginning.
Yeah. And I know that sounds so cliche.
It
Like,
does.
just be
I know,
yourself.
I'm kind of, like,
But
rolling my eyes as I say it even.
Seriously.
But, yeah.
And I mean, wouldn't you want a guy to be himself too? Like,
Yeah.
would you really want to start dating a guy and then 6 months down there be like, oh my gosh, you're not who I thought you
No,
were?
you
'cause
break
were
up
just
over that
trying
sort
to-
of thing.
Yeah, because you were just trying to impress the other one. So just don't suppress qualities about yourself, because you never know. Like, guys might find them attractive even though you may not think they do. And then along with intelligence, I thought it was really cool that ambition, decisiveness, independence, passion for, like, certain interests, those were all listed in the short answer, one of the short answer questions we asked the guys. So not to get too technical here, but before we asked them to rank that list that we gave them, we have them list 3 things they were looking for on their own, so we didn't influence anything they said.
So yeah, this ambition, decisiveness, independence, those were all things that were in the short answer that they typed themselves before they even saw our list.
Exactly. So I thought that was really neat that those were very consistent throughout a lot of the responses.
Well, and if you think back to the episode we did a couple of weeks ago, 2 maybe, I don't remember, but the one on, like, actively waiting, we talked, the whole episode is about what to do while you're waiting. We are in this season of waiting as a single woman. we said find things you're passionate about and pursue them. Find a hobby. Do things you love, activities that you like. Learn to be on your own and be an independent woman. Guys find that attractive. So not only are you honoring the Lord by waiting well and using your time wisely, but a godly man is going to find those things attractive.
Definitely. And I did want to point out a few direct quotes from these surveys because I thought they were really consistent. As they spoke really well to this point as far as independence and ambition and all of that. So one guy said one of the most important things he looked for in a girl was independence. Allow me to be chivalrous and get your door and the check, but don't rely on me. A woman with her own opinion and ability to support herself is incredibly attractive. I thought that was very well said.
Very well said.
Another guy said, it's awesome if she has her own ambitions and goals in life. We're people. Eventually you're going to get annoyed with your spouse being around. So it's awesome to be, I hope you don't get annoyed with your spouse being around too much.
Oh,
I mean,
if you pull married
time to
couples,
time,
I guarantee you every single one is
sure.
like, been annoyed that their spouse was there at some point.
Yeah. But he said it's awesome to be able to know that both of you have your own pursuits to do on your own. And it's awesome to cheer for your spouse and root for them in their pursuits and achievements too, which I thought was really neat.
Which, doesn't that just make you go, oh?
Yeah, like, oh, that's really sweet.
That's what we all want, is someone who's going to, like, cheer you on in those things.
Yeah.
Like, this team effort of maybe it's not his interest going in, but he's going to cheer for you in that and learn to be interested in what you are.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You do the same for him. And that's what I've always said. I'm looking for someone who compliments me in my strengths, but, like, compensates for my weaknesses. Like, you want someone who can do both, and you're looking for that, to be that for him too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just love that.
Yeah, I think that was really cool. And then one other thing, this was in a different question we asked, like, what are some things that deter you from wanting to date a girl? And he said over-reliance and lack of independence. Having your own identity is really important. I know that's a struggle with some girls, is like they find their identity in their relationship and in this guy and whatever. And I think it's important to understand, like, you are your own person aside from or outside of this relationship, and that's going to attract a guy if you have that sense of independence and ambition. And so don't be ashamed of that, and don't think it's going to be intimidating, and don't think that it's going to push guys away. Just like Bethany said, you should be living your life in a way that is fulfilling your calling.
Yeah.
And like pursuing things that God has put on your heart and that you're passionate about. And then if a guy comes along and he thinks that's awesome, that's really great.
Well, yeah, I mean, we say have your own identity, but we mean, like, realizing that you are in Christ. You are complete in Him. So what is your identity? We tend to sit around and just kind of put your life on hold because you're just waiting for that guy to come along, and you don't want to miss an opportunity. You don't want to miss anything. But that's not the right mentality. You're complete. Christ fulfills you, and only He will. So your identity is in Him, and then go be who you are in light of that.
Definitely.
Because you want someone who likes you for who you are, not someone who likes the person you're pretending to be. Be who God created you to be. Stop trying to mold yourself into the quote-unquote perfect girl, because one, she's not out there, and two, that's different for everyone.
Absolutely. One thing I think that I've learned from the survey that was very important for me personally to understand is that guys are just like girls in the fact that their preferences are different. This is something I don't always grasp very well, because I mean, you talk to every single one of your girlfriends has a completely different type and what they like and what they don't.
I mean, ours are polar opposites.
Oh gosh,
pretty much.
Yes, me and Bethany have very different types, but for some reason we think there's this like cookie cutter girl that you need to be for guys to find you attractive, and that's just not the case. Sure, there are some trends and some similarities from here and there, but there's not just one type of girl that guys find attractive. I was with a couple of my guy friends a couple weeks ago. We were in the car and we were...
See, you were in the car.
Yeah, I was in the car. Exactly. I did think about that when you were saying that earlier. And we were just talking about, you know, what they were looking for in a girl that they wanted to date, and kind of talking through the podcast and stuff.
Yeah, because side note, this podcast has been awesome.
Oh, just starting
giving you license to just be like, hey, so what do you think about dating?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's research.
It's research. I'm not just being creepy.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, but these two guys, their answers about everything I asked them was completely different from appearance preferences to shared interests and what they thought, or what kind of common interests they had, what the girl's personality they, kind of hoped it would be. Everything was totally different.
Yeah.
And so don't think that you need to change yourself and change who you are to fit this quote unquote perfect girl, like Bethany said, because that's not the case. And who you are and who God created you to be is going to be found attractive by somebody. Not everybody. You can just probably throw that out the window. You are not going to be, you don't find every guy
That's exactly what I was about to say.
So not every guy is going to find you attractive. And that's okay. But just make it your goal to live in a way where you're growing and you're maturing in your character and your faith and you're becoming more like Christ, because that is your ultimate goal.
Yeah, I mean, 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Whether you eat or drink, whatever you're doing, to the glory of God. If you're changing and molding who you are to impress a guy, that's not to the glory of God.
No.
That's
it's the glory
to the glory
that
of that guy or yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's not just practically not helpful because guys don't find that attractive. It's not right, which should, trump that anyway. So I think if we just keep that as our focus through this, that will be very helpful. That, to the glory of God, be who He created you to be.
Yeah, because He created you that way for a reason.
Exactly.
So, well, that's it for today, guys. Be sure and check back next week for part 2 of what guys really think as we share the rest of our survey results and all the fun things we're learning.
In the meantime, though, go check out our social media. You can search Looking for the Middle podcast pretty much anywhere.
Yeah,
and
Facebook,
find us.
Instagram.
Actually, okay, never mind, just those 2.
We think we're technically on Twitter, but that's still a work in progress.
I don't even think I know how to tweet.
Yeah, Bethany's on the outer realm of using Twitter.
But okay, totally random thing.
Oh yes.
Okay, so we've been kind of keeping track of where people are listening from, and we have been shocked because there's actually a good number of people who are listening in Sweden and Canada.
Yeah, and we don't know anybody in Sweden or Canada.
So if that's you, we would love to hear from you. Send us a message. Find us on Instagram. We would love to say hey and know how you found us, because that's so cool.
And thanks for listening.
Yes, we love it.
It's so awesome. And then one last thing I'll say is, because we're starting to do this whole question thing at the beginning of every episode.
Question of the day.
Our question of the day. If you guys have questions you want us to answer, go to our Instagram, comment on our pictures, or you can send us a direct message on Instagram and send us questions, because we would love to answer those for y'all.
Yes.
And then you'll get a chance pretty soon to answer those questions so we can get to know you better.
Yes,
we do want to.
It's a two-way street here.
Yeah, absolutely. So until then, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is Looking for the Middle.